Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, Miss Manay. As first question, ma'am, as a female
Uh,
leader, what has been the most difficult barrier so far, ma'am, that you have encountered?
before I answer that question, no, let me just put this into context. When you say as a female leader, do you mean like in comparison to being a female leader in a company where you also have a lot of male leaders, or is it just a female leader in general? Because I'm not sure, and under what context I
Uh,
would have to put the question into.
a female ma'am leader who has a lot of leaders like men in
Uh
the
huh.
company,
In the
ma'am.
organization.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. I've actually been thinking about this question for quite some time, and to be very candid about this question, right, I cannot really think of any barrier that I've had so far, in as far as being a female leader is concerned, in an organization where we also have a lot of male leaders, right? And probably the reason for that is because I'm very lucky to be part of a company that does not really do any type of stereotyping. I belong in a company where gender equality is upheld at all times, and I work for a company that encourages diversity and inclusion. And in the company that I work for right now, to be honest, I've never really felt like, okay, I am being like marginalized or stereotyped just because I am a female leader. And in the company right now, we actually have a lot of female leaders working in the organization. So I'm sorry that I cannot really think of any barrier that I've had so far, because I've never
Oh,
felt, marginalized at all in terms of being a female leader in the company that I work for. So I hope that helps somehow.
yes, ma'am. Thank you, pa. Next question, ma'am. What advice would you give to empower leadership for the next generation? And may I also ask, ma'am, why?
Okay. Probably one thing that I've also learned, quite the hard way in the past few years that I have been a leader, is that being a leader is not equal to being a manager. Okay, some people probably think that it's just the same thing, right? Being a leader is the same as being a manager. In some ways it is, but in the bigger sense, in the bigger picture, it actually isn't. Being manager, it means just you basically manage people, you tell them what to do. That's basically it. Whereas if you are a leader, then it means that you are really able to inspire people. You're able to influence people, and you have people who really believe in you as a person and as a leader. And people follow you not because they are afraid of you, or they're scared that something's gonna happen to them if they don't do certain things correctly, right? But people follow you because they trust you and they have confidence in you. So I think that's one of the major things that I can give as advice to leadership, or people who want to be leaders in the future, is that leadership, or being a leader, is not equal to being a manager. So that's one. And another thing is that one important thing also that they need to be mindful of is they need to take care of the people. Okay, I've seen a lot of
Okay.
managers who only care about business, about revenue, about getting the sales, etc., etc. But if we don't have the people, if we don't have our team, right, who will be supporting us, then we're worthless as leaders. So that's one thing, is really taking care of your people. Okay, and probably the last one is that whenever you build a team, and in order for that team to be successful, is that you need to have the right people on the bus. Okay, what does that mean? Is that you need to make sure that whatever goal it is that you're trying to achieve, right, be it for your team, for your department, or for the company as a whole, is that you have a group of people whose skill set will be really complementary to what you're trying to achieve, right? Because otherwise, if you don't have the right people, if you don't have the right sets of skills coming from those people, then it's going to be a challenge for you also to achieve whatever it is that you're trying to achieve as a leader. So those are the three things that I think will be very important for people, or leaders in the future, that they need to really remember. Okay? Yeah.
Yes.
That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you for that
Uh-huh.
wonderful answer, ma'am. And moving on, ma'am. Uh, have you experienced being in a situation where male dominance is being practiced? If yes, ma'am,
Mhm.
how do you deal with that pressure, ma'am?
Okay, I think my answer to the first question kinds of answer this question already, right? But I've never been really in a situation where, I felt like, I'm scared or I felt like I'm being belittled just because I'm a woman leader. I've never really had that kind. I've never really been in that kind of setup also. But if I don't know, maybe it's just the way I am wired also. So I really consider myself as a very strong, independent woman. And
Um,
that is very important, right? Because otherwise, if you yourself do not see yourself as a strong, independent person, then, nothing else is going to follow, right? So even if, I have male colleagues, male counterparts, I've never really felt, I don't know, small or marginal versus them. Never at all in my entire career with the company that I am in right now.
okay. Thanks, ma'am. Moving to the next question again, ma'am. Who do you reflect your leadership style and image to? Or is there a man, ma'am, or man or woman keeping you in line like, I want to be
Mm-hmm.
like him or her because um, he is very great and I want to be like him? Is there someone you
Yeah,
admire or adore the most that keeps you in a leadership style where you are in now?
adore talaga. Okay,
Yes,
that's a
ma'am.
big word. Anyways, yeah, I actually have, it's my current boss. So we've been working together only for about 2 years, but I've had many bosses, I've had many leaders, I've had many managers in the past. But the current manager that I have right now is kind of um probably a role model. Not
Mm,
really, a role model, but someone that I really
you
kind of
rely on, ma'am.
admire. Not really rely on because, like what I said, I feel like I'm a very independent person. But of course, all his inputs are very important. And this is a male leader, by the way. Okay. I really admire him because his people leadership skills are really, really good. And that is also very important when you are a leader, right? Like what I mentioned earlier, that, being a leader is being able to influence people and gain their respect. This is what that person is actually doing, and he's really setting the benchmark. Before he came in, it was like everything was kind of, a mess. There's a lot of office politics happening. But when he came in, it's just like, everything clicked into place. People feel more engaged. People feel more valued. And this is the kind of person, the kind of leader that I really want to be. And this person is also the kind of person that pushes you, the kind of person that stretches you so you can, further enhance your skills and you can further strengthen your growth as well. So it's my current manager right now. And I do you need a name, or I don't think so, right? No need
Um,
for
no, no,
to
no
give
need.
names. Okay. All right.
The next question, ma'am, is also the bread and butter of our questionnaires.
Uh-huh.
How can you stop, ma'am, gender stereotyping?
When you say how can you, are you asking me as a single individual or
Ma'am,
just my personal thoughts on the matter?
as you, ma'am, as you as a single
As
individual,
me.
but also your thoughts on that specific
Okay.
matter.
This is really kind of a tricky question, a controversial question also at that.
Yes.
I think one person alone cannot really do a lot, right? But if there are a lot of people thinking the same thing, like what they say, there is strength in numbers, right? But
Yes, ma'am.
me personally, and probably, let's putting it into context, me in my current role right now, gender stereotyping. First and foremost, I think it should start from myself,
Yes.
right? Because people see you based on how you act in front of them also, right? So if my team members, if my colleagues see that this is something that I do not really practice, right, then I won't really be able to foster an environment where there is no gender stereotyping, right? And I think in the corporate setting, the inputs coming from the HR team is also very important, because they kind
Oh,
of set the tone also for how the culture is going to be, how employees are going to treat each other, right? And what values are very important for the company. So I think that's one, as yeah, mostly coming from HR. But for me, it should start within me. as a person. And it, like what I said, it's really tricky, right? Because to each his own, and each different individuals have their own preferences, have, their own likes and dislikes in life, right? But for me as a leader, this is something that I think I really have to practice, to make sure that, there isn't any form of gender stereotyping or bias whatsoever, at least in the team that I am handling. And then I guess it can start from there.
Okay. Thank you. Ma'am, you have said about corporate setting.
Yeah.
How do you determine leadership in a corporate setting, ma'am? Can you give us a more specific insight about it? Can you give us a more contextualized scenario, ma'am? When you're in
This is
work.
this is also very tricky.
Yes.
The reason why I say this is tricky is because I think you'll understand more once you're in the corporate setting already, right? There are a lot of factors that play into determining, right, what a leader is in a company. And well, if we're going to just focus on what are the qualities that we need to be looking for in a leader, right? Then I guess the first one is, does that person embody and practice the values of the company? That's very important. In the company that I am in right now, values are very important. So the company values, the corporate values are very important. And for me, if we want someone to be a leader in that company, then that person has to first practice or embody whatever the company's values are. That's very important. And another thing is that, does that person treat people with respect? Because as a leader, if you want to be respected, then you also need to be able to learn how to respect others, right? So if this person does not embody that quality, then maybe that person is not really suited to become a leader. And another important thing for me, I think that also determines leadership, is integrity. It's very important, especially in the world where we live in right now, where there's a lot of corruption in, not just in the government, right, but in any other setting, corruption comes in many forms, right? But for me, it's very important that one person, if that person wants to be a leader, that person has to have integrity. Okay, because it shows a lot about that person's morale, about that person's values and who has integrity. And maybe the last one is that I just really believe that some people are born as natural leaders and some are not. And you'll see that. I don't know what the correct formula is on how you determine, right? But once you are really working closely with one person, you'll see if that person is just a natural born leader. But apart from that, yeah, the first three that I mentioned are key, at least for me, in determining leadership in the corporate setting.
Okay, ma'am. Next question, ma'am. What if you have given the chance, ma'am, to by the owner to lead the company?
Yeah.
And what is that one thing you would change about the company you're in right now? If you would
to be very honest, nothing.
Nothing, ma'am?
Nothing.
Oh, okay.
Nothing.
You're very satisfied
I'm really very satisfied because, like what I mentioned, I work for the biggest shipping line in the world. Okay, so we are a global company, and especially during the pandemic, you can really feel that the company really cares for its employees. So we were given a lot of flexibilities. Up until now, we're actually working from home. So we're going to be working from home until end of December. Then there were a lot of flexibilities that were given also. And you can just really feel that the company cares for you. But apart from that, even before this pandemic, right? I'm just really proud to work for this company. And there's really nothing else that I would change, because for me, like what I said, right? For me, it's not really perfect. No, or not. I don't think there's any company that's perfect. Of course, every other company has their own, probably shortcomings and all. But right now, in the company that I am, I'm really happy. I'm really satisfied. Like what I mentioned earlier, the most important part for me are the people. And if the company cares about the people, you'll feel it that they really care for the people, and then everything else actually follows. So I cannot really think of anything that I want to change in the way the company is doing its business, at least in terms of caring for its people, because that's what's most important.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. For you, ma'am, where do you get your inspiration to succeed?
A lot of um, a lot of mistakes probably in the past,
Family,
a
ma'am?
lot of learn. The
Or is
family, of
there
course.
someone?
I mean, family is. I mean, given the Filipino culture is very much anchored on families, right? So I think,
Yes.
of course, family is already a given. But apart from that, maybe my key drivers also to for me to succeed is number one, yeah, a lot of lessons learned in the past. Okay, they say that there are no mistakes, right? Only lessons learned. But if you do not learn anything from that, then that's a mistake, right?
Yes,
But
ma'am.
yeah, really lessons learned from the past. And like what I mentioned also earlier, I'm a really very competitive person. So my only opponent or someone that I'm really competing with is myself actually. Always in competition with myself. So every day is like an opportunity to challenge myself to do better. And I think that is one of the key things that actually, propel me to succeed or to strive even more. Plus, I think another thing for me is that I have in my mind, I already have a set goals that I want to achieve in the next 2 years and the next 5 years and the next 10 years. So having a plan or a roadmap plan ahead is actually very helpful also. And these are the milestones that I wanted to achieve, within those time frames. And like what I mentioned, just it's just in my nature to be really competitive. So I guess that's what's really driving this one. Yeah.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. And then, ma'am, may I also ask, what characteristics of yourself do you think help you through your journey?
Mm. Okay. Number one would be communications. My
Communication.
communication skills. Yes. They say communication is key, right? As the saying
Yes,
goes,
ma'am.
communication is key. And I've proven this time and time again that if you really have a good set of communication skills, then it can really get you a long way, right? Because
Yes, ma'am.
you can have the best ideas in the world, you can have, I don't know, the best innovations in the world, but if you're not able to communicate it properly, then nothing is really gonna happen also, right? And communication, especially me in a leadership role, I talk to different kinds of people. So, and not one form of communication will actually work for the same person. Different people, different characteristics, right? Different ways
Yes,
on how they wanted to communicate with them. And I think that one is what really kind of helped me a lot is being really able to communicate effectively. Okay. And then another one probably is my organizational skills. I am such a huge sucker for plans and roadmaps and everything. It's like everything I do, there has to be a corresponding plan that governs it, or there has to be a corresponding plan that's attached to it. I
yes,
have to work in a very structured, in a very organized manner, because otherwise I don't think I'll be able to accomplish anything. But that's really helpful because I've seen some people just, they're kind of all over the place because they don't know how to organize what they need to do. They don't know how to prioritize. And for me, that's really, really helpful. And for you guys also, that's going to be very helpful. Prioritization and organizational skills, it's going to get you a long way. And probably one last is um, in the last years, no, I've really learned how to care for people genuinely.
oh,
Your team members will feel it. People will feel it if you're being genuine, if you're being true to them, or if you're just being, I don't know, plastic or whatever. Right? And like what I said, if your people, if your team believes in you, if they trust you, if they respect you, then it's going to help you out also. It's going to help you go a long way as well. So there.
thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And one last, ma'am,
Mhm.
for your leadership skills, ma'am.
Yeah.
I I just have one question. Which aspect of your leadership skills, ma'am, do you face problem regularly? How do you improve those set of skills? Like, I know we have different kinds of strengths and weaknesses, ma'am. But
Yeah.
what do you recognize one of your weaknesses, ma'am? And how are you going to improve it?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
I wouldn't say it's really a weakness, but something just needs improvement, right? Probably in terms of developing others. So as a leader, one of our biggest roles is actually to help our team members grow, to help them develop, right, to reach their full potential. But sometimes I tend to push people way harder than what I'm supposed to do. So the intention, the goal is very positive. The intention is good. I want to make sure that everyone in my team has an opportunity to grow, has an opportunity to showcase their skills and enhance their skills, right? But sometimes in the process, I have a very high level of standards and expectations from people, and I think sometimes I just tend to push them too hard. So that's one of the regular battles, internal battles that I have when in terms of my leadership skills. And how do I address that? Is I just always remind myself that, to each his own. Different people, different folks, different strokes, right? And I regular coach, we call them coaching sessions, okay, in the corporate world. It's basically your one-on-one sessions. Basically getting to know the team member, asking for feedback from them, what it is that I can improve on further, then me also giving feedback to them. So that is how I try to bridge that gap in terms of that improvement area in my leadership skill.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you po, ma'am. Thank you. As my last question, ma'am, what are your thoughts in the issue of endo, ma'am?
I actually don't have any experience about
Do you
this.
agree with it, ma'am?
Well, the straightforward answer is no.
Okay.
Because I think, as employees deserve the benefits that should be given to them, right? As government mandated benefits at least, right? And I am no expert in endo or in the financial world or whatsoever to say, if we do this, this is going to be the implications. If we do this, it's going to be this one. But just my personal thoughts is that I think this is not fair. I actually thought this is no longer an issue when Duterte assumed his role into the presidency, right? He said that there's not going to be more issues on endo. But I think it is still an issue, right?
Yes,
for
yes,
some,
ma'am.
right? So I don't think it's fair. I think that employees, like what I said earlier, they need to be paid whatever is due to them, at least for the government mandated benefits. And if I understand it correctly, right, some corporations only employ people up to, 5 months, right? So they don't have to regulate
less than 6 months, ma'am.
Sure. Less than 6 months, right? So I think I don't know what the term is, but it's not right. For me, it's not fair.
For me also, ma'am.
So I don't know how can this be stopped, right? But yeah, I mean, what is due to.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for that wonderful questions, ma'am. This is Group 2, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
That's the last one?
Yes po, ma'am.
All right.
It's been an honor, ma'am, and a privilege to interview you. Thank you po, and God bless you.
All right. I hope I'm able to help you guys out in this subject. All right. Okay. If there's nothing else, then thank you also for your time. Thank you.
Ma'am. Thank you for your time.